Welcome back to Reynolds Runabouts, everybody. This is Jeffrey Reynolds. And as I said in my post earlier this month, I'm pivoting back to my 1957 Wondercraft Runabout 14-foot that was built in Holland, Michigan. I paused working on it last fall where I was at the painting stage to work on the 1960 U.S. molded shape mystery boat. So I'm back today working on the priming and painting of the Wondercraft, and I'm going to show you how I got through the priming stage, but also through the finished top coats, which are going to be the black on the bottom, black on the top sides, and then white on the bottom. So let's get to work. Now, just finished the first coat of the white top coat AlexSeal. Very happy with it. I can see some spots that I missed. I need to pay attention more. The beauty of having 3 to 4 coats is that you're going to catch those in the end. Overall, I love how it looks. A little bit of orange peel. I think I got a little heavy on the paint in the beginning, but over the next 6 to 12 hours, that'll flatten a lot more and tighten up. So I'm not too discouraged. And we'll let that cook. And like I said, I'm probably going to do at least 4 coats. I'm going to do 3 bam, bam, bam every 6 to 12 hours. And then I'll go ahead and do a final sand, then I'll final coat. So I've completed the sanding of the boat hull with a 400 grit wet dry paper. Usually the 400 is the grit that you would use just before the final paint. So I figured because I had put that third coat on a little thicker, it kind of served as my 4th coat. So I went ahead and used 4, which helped knock it down, but not to the point where I was a little bit worried about burning through. And I did not burn through, which is the goal and why I did it all by hand. It took me several hours, obviously, to do it that way, but I wanted to make sure I was sneaking up on getting it flat but not burn through. So now I'm on to the wet sanding, literally with warm water and a little bit of soap to help break the tension of the. When you use wet sandpaper, there's a kind of a suction feeling. So what I do is I take a foam pad. I bought a bunch of automotive foam pads, which were great, and I just wrapped it with the one sheet of. I use Duragold. I've always had really good luck with that. So I buy these online, and I'm going to go from today. I'm starting out with 6, and I'll go all the way up through 3,000. So I'm looking at 7 or 6 graduated finer grits, and I'm going to do it to the point where I know I don't have a burnout coming with too much burn through there. So I'm just going to go ahead, and what you're doing is you're moving every set of larger grit scratches, you're reducing it almost to 0, and then I'll start using the wool polishing pad. See if it's too much. If not, I'll go to foam. Foam is recommended for paint, and this is a really nice paint, but it's still paint. So I'll see in an inconspicuous spot whether the wool is too much for it. Then I might go to a grit compound that is polishing as well, and then I'll finish up with a foam that will have a polish on it. So this boat will have wax on it at the end. I don't recommend that for varnish. Obviously, I've seen horror stories with that, but I am going to use it with this paint. Some people can do varnish. I have not done that yet, and that's something I would recommend you go. Like I think Mike Green does that at his Maritime Classics in Traverse City. You might want to look at his videos and see how he does that because they come out really nice. So I'm going to get back to this. Again, I'm just dipping, get it wet, and you'll create a slurry. You can just create a slurry with your sanding. You can see that. And this is what gets rinsed off in the bucket. And a little bit of dish soap like Dawn or something helps break the tension and gives you a little lubrication. So I'm going to keep going on that. I'll even going to do a test spot on the port starboard side just to see that difference. Hopefully you'll see a dull versus a slightly polished look. And that's exactly what you're trying to move up to, a very close to a polish when you get done sanding with 3,000, and then you just finish it off with the compound and the foam wheels. So back to work. After each grit, I go with several passes with a clean shop towel. Eventually, I will switch to a terry towel when I'm doing the polish because these are even grittier than the terry towel. So I'll make that switch eventually when I get done with all the slurry and the mess. But each one of these, I not only did I vacuumed it heavily after the 400 grit, I washed it down before that to get any other grit And then I just wash until these are clean. I keep wiping because the last thing you want to do is introduce the last heavy grit into the new grit and then leave something behind that you didn't want to do. So I have a little patch right here I noticed. I left it so I could see it, and it's clearly um, getting getting smoother and shinier. So I'm looking forward to moving up through the 800 grit now, and I'll continue that all the way to 3000, and then I'll check back, show you what I got. I should also say when you change your paper, change your bucket of water. It's going to get milky. It's a good transition point, and I also rinse it out. So I know that I'm starting out virtually with a clean bucket, and that'll just give me just one more added comfort point that the grit is gone, and I'm working with new water, new pad, and just keeps you going, and a thorough way of cleaning and making sure you're not adding more grit to the stuff you just took off. I finished up with the 3000 grit wet sand, and then I wiped it down. Then I put more clean water on the boat, wiped it down again. So at this point, it even has a light shine to it, which is nice because that tells me I've got the dull spots. And I went around with my harsh light and walked around with it. And if I found any areas, I went ahead with the 3000, and if not, back to 2 and then up to 3, and found it to be pretty well done. I was I used 2 directions. I swirled it, and then I finished it straight with the boat to try to get all the scratches in line as I get close to the end here. Um, in the past, I've used different types of rubbing compound. After the sanding, you can go to a rubbing compound that has a little bit of grit in it, fast cut. Sometimes you can use this on gel coat. Um, if you have a boat that's gel coated, these boats, Wondercrafts, were all gel coated clear, and then they painted them, and that largely could have been because of customer desire to pick the color at the end, or I think for Clyde Paul it was easier to just paint them. So I'm going to try this TotalBuff, TotalBoat products. I bought this a year ago. I saw a really great video that Andy Miller did on Boatworks today, and he tried several products: Melco, 3M, and Meguiar's, and TotalBoat. And I think this was before Andy was a TotalBoat sponsored restorer. So he just went in there blind and thought, well, let's try it. And it worked better than the Meguiar's and the other products. So um, I bought this for a gel coat boat I own. I was going to try it. Have not opened them. Got into restorations instead of working on my user boat. So I'm going to start out with the rubbing compound, the finishing compound, and then I'm going to finish up with a premium wax. Some people don't put wax on the glass. I have on my Four Winds user boat, and it just really helps in the end. If I don't think I need wax in the end, I'm going to just let it go. But the wax is a protectant, so it really doesn't make any sense not to put it on. I'm going to use the clean rags that I bought from TotalBoat. Well, I have clean rags. I'm just going to stick with their products to make sure everything works. And then I'm going to finish up the polishing process. Not this one, obviously, because it's dirty, but I will use their microfiber towels to do the polishing part. If I find that I like what's happening with the hand application, then I might go to my wheels. I have a polishing machine with different types of wheels, wool and foam. I just really want to creep up on this and make sure I like what's happening before I get into something that is going to move much faster, get hotter, and possibly ruin what I've got done. So I'm going to go ahead and just try the hand application first, and then I'll see what happens. So back to work. I tried the soft cloth with the cutting compound from TotalBoat first. Looked at it, went to another section, tried the foam pad, which is something I wanted to start with in case the paint was tender, which it should be. It's hard, but it's paint. And then I went to the wool, which is a more aggressive way to polish because there's just a little bit more grit even in the wool. using the same compound. Found the wool to be the best to remove the tiny scratches left from the 3000. And we'll take the cloth and the foam and put them aside and use the wool to do the rubbing compound first. And then I'll go back and I'll use another clean foam for the finishing compound and then the wax. So I'm glad I tried it. Certainly a game changer when you use a wheel on low speed. I use a number 1 setting and it's adjustable. So you can go ahead and just do the speed that you need. And it won't flip the wax all over. You can go up higher when you do the wax, but for the most part, you don't want to heat up the boat. So, and then, you get all sorts of other problems. So I'm going to go ahead and keep going with this. What I do, I wear gloves because there's a little bit of, obviously, it's a chemical. So I use the gloves, especially because you have to work it around on the pad. If you put it all on just with a big squirt, it's going to end up all over the boat. And even here, I use low speed and I really massage it into the wool pad. I still have some splatter going off in different directions. So just take the pad, turn your wheel. Of course, I shaped it several times before. Just kind of put it on here, not a lot, just enough where you can put there we go. And then you massage it in. You just circle it with your fingers like this. And you're using the top of the pad for the most part, a little bit of the edge, but you don't want to get too much over. That's where the splatter comes from. And then just come in and very slowly work it until it's dry. And then you'll know whether you have to do it again or if you can move on. You'll start to see a consistent finish compared to the dull 3000 section. So I'm going to keep going with that and get this boat, get the first rubbing compound application on and then move on. This is the TotalBuff rubbing compound after effect. I've rubbed it with a microfiber cloth. I'm sure it would be a lot more polished if I washed it, but because I have a light compound coming now, I don't really see the need to do that. So I'm real happy with that. There's things I probably would like to go back and do. There's a few little bumps that I probably could have gotten with a longboard. This boat has so much curvature to it in so many places that it's hard to use a longboard of any size. Even my short pad, I was hitting high spots most of the time, but it looks pretty good. I'm real happy with that. I'm going to now use the light compound and make it even shinier. Now that I've got the first level of compound done, I'm going to move from a wool to a foam pad, which is made for polishing. And the second compound in line after the cutting compound from TotalBoat is TotalShine, finishing compound. And this will put even more of a shine on. Remember to put my gloves on. Well, I don't think I would get terribly harmed. I don't want to do anything in the way of adding compound to my skin. I noticed when I was sanding the paint, didn't bother me, but you wonder, like, that's a lot of contact with 2-part paint. So like the wool pad, I'm going to push this in a little bit into these little divots, and I'll see how much I need. I might need more, but it's just going to be rinse and repeat. I'm going to get in here and got it on one yet. doing that. Oh yeah. The difference between this and that is amazing. So you know that this is already, it's a finer cut, like sandpaper, but in liquid form. And then I'll finish this up with wax, so it'll really look nice. I think my pad needs a little more, didn't have a lot in there. So there. It's a fine line between too much and not enough, because you'll see it go all over the boat or you, so you'll know. So I'm gonna finish up the boat and we'll see what it looks like. And here we are with the second polishing done, the finer polish. I was able to see the difference quite a bit when I went from the first polish to the second polish with the wheel. I did one side and the other. I'm like, wow, yeah, it really makes a difference. So now I'm going to go ahead and apply the wax. The wax is the third part in the TotalBoat process, premium boat wax. And they say to apply it with a damp rag, which is just like we used to do with cars. It doesn't come with a pad, but I mean, you don't need very much, and a clean cotton rag works fine. Comes off with a microfiber just like everything else. I don't know if I'll try this with a wheel. I have a really nice buffing pad I could try. I thought I would try a hand application since they don't talk about machine application. I'm not sure if it'll work or not. I'm sure it would, just maybe it doesn't need to be on there. But I'll do that just like we always did. I'll let it haze over, see what happens. And there it goes. Yep, just like your old car. The one thing I've noticed this whole process, even during the wet sanding, is that the friction of whatever you're using is so much less every time. So there you go. I'll probably do a couple applications just to see if I can get it to shine like a penny. But it looks pretty good. I'm going to continue with that and see what we get. Well, that's the first coat of wax. I probably will do another coat of wax when I finish the black, which is next. You might have noticed I still have the gray primer on. Here, I'll show you. I wanted to get this bottom done and have it waxed, so when I put on the fine line tape and I do my black, which I'll also do in this position, because it's just easier to lay it on the majority of the boat. I wanted to have that wax on there so that if there's any overbrush, that I would have a pretty easy way to just wipe it right off. And I wanted to get this done, try this wet sanding process and the polishing process to see if I was good to go for black, because black is going to be a whole lot harder. It's going to show a lot more, and I'm going to have to be on the top of my game to make sure that looks good. The bottom, as many of you know, doesn't get seen. At boat shows, this boat will be under, all the white will be under the water, and if it's a land show, it would be on a trailer. But it's a great place to practice. So there's some dimples on the bottom of this boat that I thought I had, and it could just be that this boat was built in 1957 and it wasn't built, to the specific or specifics to the quality that we would like to hope. So I'm sure I'll be working on this boat bottom sometime in the future when, the bottom of the boat's where it always gets hurt. So yeah, and I'm okay with that. So the boat is ready to go. It'll be like grease lightning in the water with this polish. So I'm happy to do that for it. And we'll move on to the black now. So this is the boat after the first coat of jet black colored AlexSeal. There's a little bit of show through, but it's the first coat, and I've heard that black is especially hard when it comes to covering. So this is not a surprise. Few specks here and there of dust, even though I was wearing Tyvek and I had cleaned the floor, no ventilation to keep it still. This boat is going to get, well, I should say the black is also going to get buffed, sanded and buffed, so that will all go away anyways, but real happy with it. We're back to a black and white boat like it was originally and when I started a few years ago, so I'm going to keep adding coats of black. I have up to 24 hours between coats, and probably I could do it within 4 as a minimum, but I usually shoot for 6 to 12 depending on the time of the day. So I'm going to probably do a 6-hour turnaround depending on how much it's hardened up. I want it to be able to flatten out and let all the solvents leave without putting another coat on top. So it's important that I wait a good long time, so maybe 12 hours. So this is a few days after I put on the third coat of the AlexSeal Jet Black top coat. Very happy with it. In fact, I mean, some cases, I guess people would just put this boat right in the water. It's really smooth. I can feel some dust nubs that I will take out when I do a 400 sand, 400 grit. And I want to help try to get these water lines smooth. So when I put the fourth coat of jet black on, I'll use 3M fine line tape, and I'll have a really smooth water line all the way around the boat, but also it'll give it that one more coat of black that I want. And then I'll go ahead and use a wet sand process, or maybe even go right to compound instead of using paper. Maybe I'll try the compound, and if it doesn't get it all, I'll work my way down into those wet grits. Excuse me, and then just try to save myself some work. So that'll be the end of this video. Thank you for tuning in. I'm trying to do these videos sooner than once a month, but I think that's the schedule I'm going to keep through the summer because I get kind of busy with outdoor activities in northern Michigan that I like to do, and it just sometimes I just don't get into the shop as much as I would like. So I will see you for sure the first Wednesday of every month with a new video, and until then, take care.